Hello and welcome to another episode of The Art Department, BCPS TV's own arts-based learning show, where we show you some tutorials and best practices from around the county so that you can learn some art at home. Today we're going to start off with a professional development on Photoshop and Edmodo with Mr. Eric Whipple at Perry Hall High School. So now we're in Mr. Whipple's lab, and we're going to learn some Photoshop and Edmodo. There he is. There's the site. We've got a group post.
And this is how I use it a lot with my students. You can use Edmodo a lot of different ways. Some people have it very organized assignments. I tend to use the kind of running news feed. The newest thing is posted at the top, and as you scroll down you see the older stuff. My post for the group, the first post I put in, is buried at the very bottom because it was the first one, and I gave you some classwork to do once you join the group. I want you to, this is two things I actually gave my photo students, so I teach photography. So I had them visit this first website, which is jpegmag.com, and it's a photo community like Flickr, creative photographers, and the themes page is a list of photo assignments. So my advanced photo students, I had them pick their top 3 favorite themes and then go out and shoot those themes. And I had them pick a theme and then post the link to this group. So one thing I like about this is that students can become content creators in the sense of sharing the knowledge. So there's only so many websites that I know about, there's only so many videos, instructional videos that I know are good. They can start looking, they can find things, and they can share them with the group. Take a photo each day, or take more, for 365 days. And then the members who are on this site can post from their challenge to this. So these are all ones people posted. At the bottom I can click see another random selection, and these are all ones that were turned in for this assignment. So maybe I really like this assignment, I think, yeah, I'm going to do this assignment, or I want to share it with my class. So I'm going to copy the URL, go back to Edmodo, and I want to post it to the group. So I scroll up to the top and I've got a note, and I click right here and I'm going to say, this is a great challenge where you photograph yourself every day for 365 days. So that's my little summary. Now at the bottom of this I see the recipient is this group. I could also send this to one person, so I could type in I think I have people who've joined. Well, I could type in the name of someone who's joined. I could pick that person, and I could send it just to them, or I could send it to the whole group. In this case, I'm sending it to the whole group, and then I'm going to click this little link button. I can attach a file with the paper pad, a link with the link, or something that I've already uploaded to my library. So I'm going to click the link, and I'm going to paste that link I put in, and it's going to automatically retrieve the title, and I hit attach, and then I'm going to hit send. And now all of you should see it, who are joined the group. You should see my link that I just posted. I also want you to go to Petapixel and find an article there that you like, and share it with the group. Petapixel's a photography blog, really neat. These are the latest stories. Sometimes I use this for my drill. There's tutorials in here. There's art in here. I was having them write a critique, and I didn't want to make a color print. I wanted to give them a Xeroxed critique paper to fill out, a handout. And I wanted them to have a color image to look at, but I didn't want to print 30 color images. So I Xeroxed a black and white image on it, and I posted the color image to Edmodo, and everyone could take out their phone and look at the color slide. Well, there is a quiz feature. I haven't actually made a quiz, but there's instructions for how to do it. The students get inspired by each other. Other students commenting. She said 13 pictures, one more reply. I said, wow, thanks for posting. That's what I wanted to show you. Notice I'm using Edmodo kind of simply, but I'm getting a lot from it. I'm using the running feed, and I'm using the folders. I often tell my students to bring in pictures. Again, I was searching for high resolution, large size when I got this image, so it's not just a teeny tiny graphic. A neat way to do this, on the bottom of your layer palette, you have a couple options down here, and there's one that looks like a paper pad. create a new layer. I'm going to click that and I made a blank layer. Now if I go to my paintbrush and I go to, say I want to add some blue in the sky, I choose my blue. If I just start painting on my new layer, I just painted a bunch of blue and it's just blocking everything. And if I turn that layer off, it's not there, and if I turn it on, it's there, okay? Now what's neat is in my layer palette where it says normal, I can click that and I can choose a different blending mode. And I'm going to go to the bottom where it says color and say just blend the color. So it's blending the color of this layer with the color of the layer below. Alright, I did too much, didn't I? There's a couple ways I could get rid of that. I could go to my eraser and I could just start erasing the painting I did. I painted too much. I'm just going to erase it. So that's one way I could do that. I'm going to do Edit Undo or Control Z. I could also make a mask for this layer. Notice there's no white box here. At the very bottom of my layer palette, let me see if I can move this out so you can see it. There is a little rectangle with a white circle right there. And that is a create a layer mask, add a layer mask. So I could make a mask. Now I've got a mask. And I could click the mask and go to my paintbrush and paint black. And that's like erasing. I'm masking it away. I'm getting rid of that effect. And if I overdid it, I could just flip my color back to white and put that back in. So you can get rid of things with an eraser, or you could get rid of things with a mask. Either way, if I click on the image with the painted blue, I get little brackets around that, and I would go to my eraser. If I click on the white box here, I get little brackets around that. That's the mask, and I can paint with black or white. Control minus and Control plus are shortcuts as well. I'll go back to my brush on white, choose a bigger brush, and I can get rid of all this. Control minus will zoom me out, Control plus will zoom me in, and Control 0 will fit to screen. And Control 0 is right next to the plus and the minus. Now I can see, on the right hand side, I can see where I've been painting black. And if I hold Alt and click on that, I can see exactly where I masked it. I can see where I missed it. So why don't I go ahead and fix some of my missed spots, because I can paint in this view. I can fix some of the missed pieces I missed in this view. I can also flip my color back to white and paint some of the areas I missed here. And then I can Alt click back on my layer mask and I can see it again like this.
I hope you're enjoying this month's episode of the Art Department. Now that you've heard a little from Mr. Whipple about Photoshop, let's check in with Mr. Dortzbach from Western Tech with a little lesson about doing collaborative murals in fundamentals of art.
It's going to be a production-based thing, and we're going to try to actually make a mural in an hour. So we're going to get this one rolling. My name is Jesse Dortzbach. I teach at Western Tech High School. Nice to see you all here. Thanks for joining me in my session. And this idea for this lesson is not unique to me. I always try to make sure that I give credit where it is due. Back years ago when I started teaching at Woodlawn High School, Lynn, Thomas at the time, I forgot her name now, but she's a anyway, Lynn used to do the substitute lesson where she took a mural from Sistine Chapel and she photocopied this one image of one of the Sibyls. She gridded it off, and it was like, it was a grid drawing, much to Linda and Farrell's chagrin, right? But I feel like there's a place for a grid drawing, and this is actually a grid drawing lesson. And they asked me to do this, so apparently they approved of this method a little bit. And but I took that lesson and I turned it into a class project that I do every year with my fundamentals of art early on, typically in the first semester, first quarter. Right after we do a little bit of observational drawing stuff and they want to get into color, I introduced this lesson, and it's been a little bit of success. And if you have multiple fundamentals of art classes, you start accumulating these massive 8 by 10 foot drawings that you can hang up all over your school. But really what this lesson teaches your students is the idea of scaling and proportion, and it gives them exposure to art history, and certainly you can use this for aesthetics of art and art criticism lessons, and that's typically what I sort of dovetail it with a little bit, introducing it on early in the school year. It often gives opportunity to talk about the difference between non-objective and abstract art, because kids always get confused about that. And it really helps them understand sort of the tie-in between the elements of art and design principles. I know. Banjo lesson. Yeah, Tanner on the right.
Picasso.
Picasso's blue guitarist. Wittgenstein, right? Okay.
Keith.
Keith. Yeah. So you're already picking up a little bit on how we change it. So we also did the opportunity to talk about appropriation comes into your kids. Like, how do you take a work of art and recreate it so that it becomes something new, but still gives credence to the original? The nice thing about this lesson is that you can easily tailor it to the ability level of your class. Now, I didn't really specify here. I'm assuming all of us know how to draw. Some of you got a really boring square, and I apologize for that. It's just blue. But some of you got one that might have a piece of a face or something that's a little more complicated. Then we're relying on you to make sure that it looks like that person's face so that we know who it is. But the cool thing is, actually, if you have a totally blank piece, that gives you even more freedom to do whatever the heck you want. And there's when you talk about what is non-objective art. Okay, 18 by 24 sheet, crop it in half so you get 12 by 18. And the funny thing is that even though I do this every year, the biggest takeaway the kids are going to get is how to use a ruler, right? Of course. So measure off a grid. If you're right-handed or left-handed, doesn't choose whichever side. And it's going to be a perfect square. So it's going to be 12 by 12, right? And you want to make this is where I always forget too. I think they're 3-inch. Yeah, make 3-inch line, 3-inch squares. Okay, and then connect your lines. Inevitably, you'll always have students who think they can eyeball it and get straight lines, and of course they don't. And then when that happens, it's an opportunity to talk about why, when you scale something up, even the most tiny fragment of a mistake is going to get magnified, right? So they make their 3, 6, 12, and then down the side is 3, 6, 9, 12. Well, this student had a black square. There's nothing but black space. So what can you do to create intense value that is not just a solid color? Well, you create a pattern and you shade all those patterns with dark colors, and you create some sort of gradation to it. And then when you get into color, I really like this one by George O'Keeffe. This was like 4 years ago my class did this. But you can see like some of this earlier, and some of the patterns might not really make sense, but the cool thing is when you're done with your artwork, you want to make your 12 by 12 inch square a finished work of art in and of itself. It wants to stand alone as a work of abstract or non-objective artwork, where it's really about the space and the balance between the positive and negative space in what you've been given. And then the emphasis being put on the lines and how you create sort of a focus on those lines. And so the kids should make a work of art that they're really proud of just by itself, and they invest all this time into it, and then you put the whole thing into a puzzle, and it's really fun to see how they get. I'll say, okay, find what your number is, find the next person's number, and then stick your drawings together. Look at the pictures and see who needs to move a line. So after they've done the contour drawing, before they even get into color at all, I have them register their drawings next to each other. So they pair off in groups. So like numbers 1 and 2 will sit next to each other, and then they will try to correct their lines so that they match up. And then like 2 and number 4, who's below him, will match up theirs. And so you kind of go around. I have a table at the front of my room where I'll just call them up on the last day of this activity and say, okay, make these few quick line changes. And by doing that, you get much better registration of where the lines connect. Anybody know who the artist is? Yes, Charles White. Okay, Charles White. And then if you get to the point where you're like waiting on one kid to finish it, right? One year I actually assembled the whole thing out in the hallway, and in the blank square I put this kid's name. I was like, Emery, when are you going to get your piece done? And then every kid shamed him until he turned it in. Because they want to see it. They want to see the whole completed puzzle.
We continue this month's episode of the Art Department with a professional development session from our county's Coordinator of Art, Miss Linda Popp. This professional development session is for teachers and students wanting to learn how to make miniature zines as well as miniature sketchbooks.
Okay, so you are good students. I can tell this is the GT class, and you've picked up all of your supplies. And the ideal scenario was that I had planned to do this workshop for non-art teachers, to help non-art teachers become comfortable and confident in using what I called artful strategies in their classrooms. And then I thought, then the last time I did this, most of the students in the class were art teachers, and all of a sudden I had this little epiphany, and it was like, well, if I taught art teachers this, then they could go to their faculty, figure ripples in the pond. So we're kind of doing it with art teachers and non-art teachers. Notice how it was set up, where I've just put out the supplies, and I've got these little signs where you're picking up your things, and then you're going to find someone that's going to teach you how to do the never-ending journal. Okay, so let's begin. So easy. Take your little ruler. Yep, all three. You just put a 1-inch margin on one of the short sides on all three. So it's going to be your edge to that margin line. Not all the way to the end, just to the margin line. You're going to fold it in half. All three. Boy, she is GT. She is just like zooming ahead. Okay, so you're going to fold that in half and nice and crisp. Whenever you do any kind of bookmaking, you want to make sure that your folds are really crisp, so I would fold it back and forth. Also, because I don't know which way it's going to fold. Then we fold it in half again to the margin line. Nice and crisp. As neatly as possible. And you really want to take the time to stress good craftsmanship. Do that for all three pages. One long piece of paper. You're going to glue the end of one page to the margin on the next page. The end of one page to the margin on the next page. So you glue all three pieces together. Don't glue the back cover on, because you could make this however long you wanted to make it. They could just keep adding and adding and adding, and it could become an enormous journal. Okay, if you don't glue the back on right now. But if you want to glue the back on, you can. All right, so you have two covers. I am like the recycling queen, so you notice I save all of my cereals and everything for these covers. Kids like that too. Okay, and if you're a green school, this is a good thing to do. T-shirt yarn is so cool. Just go on YouTube and search T-shirt yarn. Okay, I've left a 1-inch margin, and I use these heavy-duty kitchen scissors. They seem to work really easy. And once I have this, and I can make one continuous strip. And if you want to know how to do that, search T-shirt yarn on YouTube, because there will be a YouTube video. So what you can do today is you're just going to cut off a chunk of my T-shirt yarn. Don't need a lot. Stretch it so it gets skinny, like yarn. Okay? So in addition to being the recycling queen, I'm also big on quality craftsmanship. So what I recommend is you're going to cut off one of your flaps. You're going to hide your yarn between one of your pages and the cover, as opposed to gluing it to the outside, and then how long is that going to last? About a day and a half, perhaps. This way it's hidden inside. It has a much more finished quality. So I've just glued that between my page and my cover. Since I'm not making this never ending, but that's a lot though. because you can work front and back. That's a lot of journaling for a kid, depending upon what level you're teaching. I'm going to glue the end of my strip, have my accordion fold, I've got my tie, voila. An ending journal. So, never-ending journal, voila. Kids will figure out what to do with it as long as you give them supplies and you give them the opportunity to explore. And they will teach each other. What you need to do is you need to start documenting their results so then you can use it to show the next group, the next group, the next group. You will be amazed at what. So try it and take a picture and send it to me so I'll know that you're trying it and it's working. And I think the kids will love it. I think they will. Create a sketchbook journal buffet. You know, you've got that shoebox full of colored pencils that nobody wants to use anymore because they're the nubs. I make necklaces out of them, but I mean, you could use them for journaling. Okay, you're going to fold it this way, and you're going to crease it, make sure it's nice and tight, and then you're going to open it up, and you're going to fold it the other way and fold it back and forth. You're not going to do one of those sloppy things where you fold it all over into fours all at once. So you're taking 3 pieces of paper, you're folding it in half in one direction, nice and sharp. And then you're not being lazy, don't be a slacker. You're going to open it up and you're going to fold it in half the other way. It's basically you're folding it into fourths, but you're being a lot more precise about it. Okay, now, look up here. Here's the only tricky part of this whole thing. Okay. I have the fold away from me. Like so. And I'm going to sort of poke in the center. I'm sort of pushing that in a little bit. And I'm bringing those 2 edges together. Okay. Got it open. Poking it in the center, I'm bringing those 2 edges together, I'm folding it down, voila, do that with all 3. So it ends up being like this. Yep, you got it. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to have a point up and a point down, and they overlap, and you Mod Podge that together. So do you think the next one is going to go up or down? So it's up, down, up. You're going to cut the corners. Okay, you're going to cut the corners so that when you fold this over, it's going to be nice. There's not going to be a lot of bulk on the edge of it. Okay, you got 2 of those. But, being the craft person that I am, we want to consider the tie. So one technique would be to just take a ribbon like this, and then when you glue your pages inside, it will be hidden. Okay, if you look at some of the examples that are at your table, you can see I've made a loop. I personally like this one, because then you can look at them and figure it out, and then I'm going to be able to wrap and tie my journal. I could put a bead on it. Okay? There's no right or wrong way. You don't have to have any tie whatsoever. Okay? The only other tip would be, when you go to put the whole shebang together, put a piece of wax paper, wax paper, in between the first couple pages. I'll come around with that because I have made some where then I go back, I put it under books and then I come back the next day and it's like a brick. It won't open up. So I found putting that little piece of wax paper in there is well worth it so it doesn't all stick together. Okay, so what you need to pick up, and I'm going to put some on each table, are 2 covers. But It'll be like a blue light special at Kmart. You're gonna have to come over here and decide what it is that you want for your cover. There's assorted wrapping. And then you can come over here and decide what it is that you want for your tie. I do have some twine over here too. Okay, so there's all these.
We closed this month's episode of the art department with a couple of visual tutorials about journaling and working with watercolor and detail work in pen from Alicia Gauger and myself. We'll see you next month on the art department.